Fine. Let me share my screen to you. Okay, I think you're watching my slide, which is unit 4, data analysis. Yes or
Yes,
no?
yes, sir.
So see, as of now, in the first unit, second unit, third unit, which we discussed about what is research and different types of research and even research design and how we are going to be collect the data and how many sources we have, primary source, secondary source, and even softwares which we have, right? So how to use those softwares, right? Coding and everything we discussed. Now once if you collect the data, then most important one, so you have to depend upon analyze or analyze that data, right? So before going ahead with what is this data analysis and topics which was included in the fourth unit, all which is related to like this, which is qualitative data analysis. We are going to be discuss about what is qualitative data and how we are going to be analyze that qualitative data. And after that we are going to discuss about quantitative data and what is this quantitative data and how which we are going to be analyze the quantitative data and test of measurement and quality, right? So we have different types of measurements and how we are going to be test the quality of that measurements, right? So which is nominal, ordinal, interval and ratio, and how it is going to be reflected in the questionnaire, then using computer packages. Okay, so most probably which I'm going to cover all these points within 1 hour itself, right? So then tomorrow we'll go ahead with the fifth unit. Okay, so can that we may complete syllabus. Fine. Then I think hope maybe you know very well about what is qualitative data, right? So which is not in the form of numeric, right? So sometimes when you are collecting the data which is in the qualitative data, that has to be converted into quantitative data. So even though if it is a qualitative data, then we have to analyze that data, right? It's most important one, right? Okay, so what is qualitative data analysis, right? Since I already said to you, which is a non-numeric information, non-numeric information, right? So which we are going to be get maybe a attitude, behavior, or personality, or maybe a IQ related. So it's all non-numeric oriented one, maybe audio recordings or maybe images and or maybe text documents which are going to be get. Then how we are going to be analyze those documents, right? Let me give you an example. Once if you buy any product through Amazon, Snapdeal, or Flipkart, or any online site, you may write a comment. That comment in the form of text, right? The text is also most important to the companies. Why the text is also most important one, though it is a text, but they are going to be convert that, right? So is it a positive opinion which they mention, which a respondent mentioned, or maybe a negative statement which they mentioned, right? Suppose if you are extremely satisfied, then you are going to be use words is different. This product is extremely good. So if you mention extremely good, then it is going to be converted as a positive. Then they are going to be work on using software which is called R. I think hope maybe you heard about R language or maybe R Studio, right? By using R Studio, then this text related documents which is going to be calculated, right? So based on that, even company will change some strategies if it is really required. Okay, so qualitative data analysis can be divided into the following 5 categories, right? What are they? Which is content analysis, narrative analysis, and even discourse analysis, and framework analysis, and grounded theory. So we'll discuss one by one what about this content analysis, narrative, and even discourse analysis, and framework analysis, and grounded theory. Okay, so content analysis. So the term itself is saying about that is content, right? So the process of categorizing verbal or behavioral data to classify, summarize, and tabulate the data. So we have one particular content, right? So based on that, which you are dividing that, right? Either maybe behavioral data or maybe a verbal data, which is categorizing and classifying. Once if you classify, then summarizing that data and even tabulating. Now, just now I say to you, right? So one person may mention a statement, right? Extremely good, then I'm going to make it as a positive statement. Once customer or maybe one respondent responded, it's too bad, then this is a negative statement. So positive statements and negative statements which I'm dividing. Okay, hope you understand content analysis. This is refers the process of categorizing verbal or behavioral data to classify and even summarize and tabulate the data. So which you are classifying based on the statement or maybe behavior, right? How he is behaving and how he mentioned the data, and it falls under positive or maybe negative, which I'm dividing, and after that which I'm going to be work out on that. Okay, this is called content analysis. Then narrative analysis. So what is this narrative analysis, right? Which reformulation of stories presented by respondents, taking into account context of each case and different experiences of each respondent, right? So one person may respond in a different way which is related to one particular product or maybe a one particular image, right? If I show you one particular image, especially psychological related oriented one, or maybe a psychologist, they may show you different types of pictures and how you are perceiving that particular picture. So based on that, they are going to be analyze what type of mentality you have. The same thing which I'm talking about, narrative analysis, right? So when a respondent collected information from the people by conducting an interview, then he is recorded, then that recording he is going to be listen, and once he listen, then he is going to be understand, right? And what type of person you are, taking into account of context of each case and different experience of each respondent. So how you are behaving, so one person how he is behaving based on one particular context or maybe one particular situation, then same thing or same response you are not going to be get from other person. Maybe it depends upon his attitude and his perception, his behavior towards that particular situation. Okay, so or even we may say about that narrative analysis is the revision of primary qualitative data by researcher. So you are revising that, right? Whatever the data which you collected, you are revising, and again you are understanding from the perspective of other side, from the perspective of customer side, from the perspective of respondent side. This is called narrative analysis. Okay, now third one, which is discourse analysis. Okay, so what is this discourse analysis? Which is naturally occurring talk and all types of written text, right? So when I give a situation to anyone, right, he's going to be respond in different way. Now if I ask you one question, then maybe if I ask to Joseph or maybe Soumya or maybe Shravani or maybe Shirisha or maybe a Kavya, anyone, then you are going to be respond in a different way because you are perceiving that in a different way, right? So a method of analysis of naturally occurring talk and all types of written text. So even if I give a same thing, you put on pen and paper, right? Then you are perceiving in a different way than the same way which you are going to be right. Okay, so this is called discourse analysis. Okay, now one more we have, that is called framework analysis. Okay, so as of now we discussed three important one is content analysis, narrative analysis, discourse analysis. Now fourth one, which is framework analysis. So what is this framework? The word itself is talking about, right, several stages such as familiarization, right? This is more advanced method that consists of several stages such as familiarization, identifying a thematic framework, coding, chatting, mapping, and interpretation, right? So you are coming up with a one conceptual framework, right? So if this is a situation, how he responded, then if he respond like this, how about his behavior, right? And if he behaves, then what about the outcome? So you are drawing in a mapping format. I think hope maybe I may give an example for this, which is decision tree itself. So which you are coming up with the chatting or mapping, right? This is about one situation. Then we have two strategies. Out of these two strategies, what about the probability to complete one particular activity, second activity, third activity, and the second one which we have, and then what about the probability of completing first, second, and third? So based on that, which are going to be conclude. So same thing which you are doing here, which is thematic framework, or maybe you're giving coding, or maybe you are making in the form of chatting and even mapping and interpretation. How many of you observed right now, even if you go to the hospital, which is Yashoda or maybe a care hospital, right? Uh, in the previous years, I mean to say about last 5 years or 6 years, we have to depend upon to identify any division in the hospital. Maybe let us take an example, cardiovascular or maybe a respiratory or maybe a eye related, right? So they may mention some information, so you have to check that. But now no need to ask anyone. How many of you come across this situation? They mapped that chart, right? Routes on the floor itself. Yes or no? Now once if you stand in a one particular floor, right? On the ground itself, they are going to be mentioned. Suppose you are in the first floor, right? So no need to ask anyone. On the floor itself, they will give a marking. Now you are here, right? This is so and so a department. Now if you go to the site, then you will find maybe uh, neuro related department, or maybe if you go to the right, then you are going to be find maybe cardiovascular related, or if you take left, maybe you are going to be find which is uh, uh, pediatric related oriented one, and so on, so on, so like that, right? I think, hope maybe you come across fine. Okay, so you are making that in a coding or chatting and mapping and interpretation. Okay, this is called framework analysis. Now grounded theory. So what is this grounded theory, right? It's a qualitative data analysis, of course, all this four. Then starts with analysis of a single case to formulate a theory. So you are going to be come up with a one particular single case to formulate a theory. Then additional cases are examined to see if they contribute to the theory. So you are taking only one particular case and you are concluding that, and you are coming up with one particular theory, and still if you did not come across with the conclusion, then again you are taking one more case and you are examining that. This is called grounded theory. So it's all qualitative related oriented one. So how many which we discussed as of now, which is 5: content analysis, narrative analysis, and even framework analysis, discourse analysis, and grounded analysis. Okay, now we have one more important one, that is called which is qualitative data analysis can be conducted through the following 3 steps. So 3 steps we have, which is one, developing and applying codes, right? So we are going to be apply coding, right? And after that, which we are going to be identifying themes, patterns, and relationships. Then after that, summarizing the data. So 3 steps which is involved here in the qualitative data analysis. One is developing and applying the codes. So you're developing and applying the codes. Then next, second step, which is identifying themes, patterns, and relationships, right? Then after that, which is third one, which is summarizing the data. Okay, so it's a self-explanatory oriented one, which is why I'm not focusing on this process. Then we'll go ahead with the quantitative data analysis, most important one, right? The term itself is talking about quantitative, right? Quantitative data analysis, right? Which is numbers which you are going to be get, that is raw number. Then you are going to be give some codings. I think those who attended my previous session, which I gave to you, how I'm going to give a code, right? In a questionnaire which you are going to be mentioned male, right? Maybe 2 options, female, sorry, gender is an option which you gave. In the gender, you have 2 options, which is one is male and one is female. Then by default, which I say to you, right, to identify that, you are going to be give either maybe a 0 1 or maybe 1 2 3 like that. So you are giving coding, then only it could be possible to you do analysis part. Okay, so quantitative data analysis may include the calculation of frequencies of variables and differences between variables, right? So once if you have a numbers, then only it could be possible to you to calculate frequencies of that particular variable which you want to know, and even differences between the variables you can easily observe, because it is in the form of numeric, it is in the form of numbers. Okay, so see, it is basically associated with finding evidence to either support or reject hypothesis that we discussed earlier classes, right? In the previous classes, even I said to you, if you come up with any statement, right, that is an oral statement, then how you are going to be proved, right? Until unless you are not adding any numerical data, you cannot prove that. So to prove hypothesis, you should have numbers, right? Then based on that only you are going to be conclude. Okay, right? So a quantitative related oriented one, right? So to calculate, we have n number of softwares, right? So popularly known as Excel is one, Microsoft Access, and even SPSS, right, which I said to you in the previous classes. Fine, now let me focus on few important concepts or few important advantages and disadvantages of this Excel, Microsoft Access, and SPSS, right? According to me right now, even if you want to get a job, right, as a data analyst or maybe a finance analyst or maybe a marketing analyst, if you know this Excel, that is enough. If you know this Excel, that is enough. But Excel is an excellent tool, but most of you guys don't know about that. Right now, those who are working in the organization, they are extensively depending upon Excel. So if you have good knowledge on Excel, then that will give you life, right? Maybe you may say about that, sir, what you're talking about, this is Microsoft Excel is a basic one. Yes, still companies are depending upon Excel itself. Even if you have any other softwares, right, it is added advantage. Suppose if you know SQL, it's added advantage, PLSQL added advantage, and even R language added advantage. Now right now, even if you know maybe which is SAP, right, system application packages, right, exclusively for the management related oriented one, each and every industry right now depending upon SAP itself, right. SAP SD is there for the marketing, SAP FICO is there for the finance people, SAP HR is there, and even SAP industry related specific softwares is also there. If you learn those softwares, then you are going to get an advantage, because anyhow, since you are staying in Hyderabad, once if you land at Amirpet, there is n number of institutions available. Just go and learn any one software, focus on that, then definitely will get. Most of my students are working in SAP SD and SAP FICO and even SAP HR. More than 20 to 30 students are working in SAP. I can help you in that way also. Okay, so we have three softwares, basic softwares which I'm talking about, right? Excel, Access, and SPSS. And even if you go and advance, Adenco is there, and even Jamovi is there, n number of softwares, and even which is SEM is there, structural equation modeling, right? It's a IBM product. Of course, SPSS is also IBM product, right? And even which is UVS is there for the finance students. Okay, now let me explain to you advantages and disadvantages of this softwares, right? Excel, right? So advantage, cost effective or free of charge, right? And even can be sent as email, right? And even attachments, and even viewed by most smartphones, and all in one program you are going to be get. Excel files can be secured by a password, right? But we have disadvantages also with Excel. Big Excel files may run slowly, of course, and even numbers of rows and columns are limited, right? Of course, even if it is limited, which I'm saying for your work, it's not limited, right? Because rows and columns more than, I think, according to my knowledge, which is 10,64,000 rows is there in the Excel. So you are not going to be work on that many rows, right? Advanced analysis functions are time consuming to be learned by beginners. Of course, if it is only addition, subtraction, or maybe multiplication, or maybe a mean, median, mode related oriented one, we can do easily. But even see, let me tell you, correlation, regression, t-test, f-test, each and every test you can do by using Excel test itself. Excel. I think maybe Rajesh Parsha sir told to you, which we got one project from the Australia, right? MS, right? They asked us to do on Excel itself. We did, right? So Excel is an excellent software. Please focus on that. It's an advantage to you for your career. Virus vulnerability through macros, right? So I think maybe you know very well about that. Those who have a software knowledge, macros, right? And obviously virus maybe get affected to these Excel or Microsoft related oriented one. I'm not saying about that it's going to be affected. So some disadvantage, at least 5 or 1% disadvantage, right? And even Microsoft Access, right, is also most advanced most important one, right? So let me explain to you advantages of this Microsoft Access. One of the cheapest amongst the premium programs, right, like Excel, and even flexible information retrieval, right? If you work on this, it's easy, and ease of use also, right? So as usual, I have mentioned to you, right, Excel is have some problem, then same time even Microsoft Access is also have the same disadvantages, which is viruses, and even difficulty in dealing with larger databases. Of course, if it is a small database, it's easy to you, but if it is a large database, it's highly difficult to you, right? And low level of interactivity, right, which we are going to be faced with the Microsoft Access, and remote use requires installation of the same version of Microsoft Access. So all these are the disadvantages. Now the most important one, extensively right now, most of the research scholars and even MBA students for their project work, we are depending upon either maybe Excel or maybe SPSS, right? So SPSS, statistical package for social sciences, right? So advantages, broad coverage of formulas and statistical routines, right? So if it is Excel, you have to work where it is at, and how to give coding is the most important one. So you need to work and you need to know. But whereas in SPSS, if you have data in the Excel format and user friendly oriented one, so those who attended my previous session, I shown them, right? Within one click, if I want to get frequencies, right, if it is data is supporting and you give all codings, then if you click, then immediately you are going to be get the output without any hesitation, within seconds itself. It depends upon how fast your system, right? And even if you want to calculate t-test, right, you will get. Even if you want to calculate correlation, you will get, right? But whereas if I give you numbers, calculate t-test or maybe a f-test or maybe a correlation or regression, maybe by using pen and paper and calc, it will take 10 minutes time, even though if you are fast at mathematics. But whereas if you depend upon SPSS, once if you click, then if data is supporting to that particular format, then within seconds you are going to be get correlation and regression values, right? So software advantage. Data files can be imported through other programs also, right? One advantage we have, and even annually updated to increase sophistication. Okay, right now in my system I'm using SPSS 23 version, right? And even right now it's 24 and 25 version is also going on, right? So I'm most advanced one. Now let me tell you guys, so though you are studying MBA, it is better to add some software related oriented one to your career. Then your life will be in a different pitch. Okay, so please learn other softwares. Right now everyone is talking about data analysis. If you get opportunity to learn softwares, and if you turn your career into the data analysis or analyst, then your career will be good and at peak also. So please try to remember this point. Okay, so disadvantages which we have with the SPSS, of course each and every software we have advantages and disadvantages. At the same time, even SPSS also some disadvantages. Expensive cost, licensed version, right? And the limited license duration which we have, excuse me. Then confusion among the different versions due to regular update. Okay, so I say to you right now I'm using 23rd version. 17 version is also there, right? So 17 version is different and 23rd version is different. Some more some more features which was added in 23rd and 24 and 25, right? So we are going to get confusion with the old one and new one. Okay, so if you have 23rd version, you can directly open even SEM also, structural equation modeling, but whereas in 17 you cannot open structural equation modeling. Okay, are you following?
Yes, sir.
Now the most important one, right? So see, I think, hope maybe you heard about univariate, bivariate, multivariate data analysis. So I'm talking about quantitative oriented one, right? So listen carefully. This slides is the most important for you when you are doing project work, and which test which we have to take into consideration to apply and when, right? So based on the hypothesis and even based on the measurement scales. Okay, so let me show to you, right? So if it is univariate data, so what is that univariate data? Which is only one variable. Okay, now see here, univariate data. Now obviously what happened, if it is only one variable, then you can do only description or inference. You can write based on that one variable inferences or maybe description. Now suppose if it is a descriptive statistics you want to know, right? So we have measurements, how many? 4 measures: nominal, ordinal, interval and ratio. Now see here, remember I have mentioned here measure of central tendency and even measure of spread or variance. If it is a nominal, because hope you know very well about that, is only nomenclature names, right? Either example maybe a gender, right, or maybe a color. What you can do here, which you can do measure of central tendency mode only, right? What do you mean by mode? How many males and how many females? That's it. You cannot do you cannot calculate measure of a spread or variance, okay, with the nominal data. Now if it is an ordinal data, right, you can go ahead with the measure of central tendency, mode and median. And whereas in a measure of spread, which is interquartile range, I think, hope maybe in statistics you heard about interquartile range and quartile ranges, right? Then if your measurement is interval, then you can go ahead with the mode, median and mean. right? So if it is interval and ratio, you can apply any type of. If it is only nominal and ordinal, you can restrict to a few only. So interval and ratio, right, measure of central tendency, mode, median and mean, and even choice of measure of spread. Even you can apply interquartile range, variance, and even standard deviations also. Which is why even in the SPSS software, right, you can get only nominal, ordinal, and scale. These two, which is mentioned in the SPSS scale itself. You cannot find interval and ratio related oriented one. Okay. Now suppose if you want to do inference with that, right, now suppose if you write to find out the difference, okay, then if it is a difference, right, so hope maybe those who attended my previous session, which I have already explained in that, right, so population mean, right, when comparing with the sample mean, right, then we are going to be applying with the one sample t-test. Okay. Now see, suppose if it is a bivariate data, right, you have two variables in your study. Okay. So nature of hypothesis, which I'm talking about, suppose you wrote hypothesis to find the difference. There is a significant difference between variables. There is no significant difference between variables like that. Okay, because it's a bivariate, right, two variables, right, then again you have to check data is a parametric data or non-parametric data. Okay, so what is this parametric data, right? See, parametric means sample size should be more than 30 and at the same time data should be normally distributed, right? Certain characteristics is there for the parametric data, right? Data should be normally distributed and sample size should be more than 30. Then only you can apply, which is again you have to check if samples is independent or maybe a paid one. If it is an independent, then we are going to be apply independent sample t-test, right? If it is a paid one, then we are going to be apply paid sample t-test. Okay, then if it is non-parametric data, so what is this non-parametric data? Data is not normally distributed and data is less than 30, then you have to apply some non-parametric test which is available, which is Mann-Whitney U-test. Okay, are you following? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Now see, suppose your hypothesis is hypothesis of association, right? So you want to find out association between two variables. Then again, you have to check if the data is parametric or non-parametric data. If it is parametric, data is normally distributed and even data is more than 30. Most probably in our work, we are going to be depend upon more than 100 and 150 when you are doing project work, right? So even if thesis work or maybe any research work, it's more than 100 itself. If it is less than 100, it is not considered as a project or maybe any work, right? Because the sample size is very less. Of course, population itself is 100. Then if you take 50 samples, then fine, right? Okay, so parametric data. Suppose if you want to know association, then we are going to be write correlation. Then we are going to be applying correlation. So you want to find whether association is there or not, or maybe a relationship is there or not, right? So just we'll check is it a positive correlation or negative correlation, right? Now suppose if you come up with a cause to find out, or maybe effect, right? There is an effect on so and so like that. If your hypothesis, then we are going to be applying a regression, right? So which is how far, if you change in any one variable which is independent variable, how far it is going to be have an effect on independent variable, right? So y equals to a plus bx, or y equals to beta naught plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2 plus beta 3 x3 plus error term. Okay, so y is dependent variable, x is independent variable, beta naught is a slope of intercept of y, right? And beta 1, right? So points. Okay, so regression which we are going to be apply. So your hypothesis is causation. You want to find the causation between the variables, then you are going to be apply the regression. Now if your data is, right, suppose you want to find out association, but your data is non-parametric data, which is less than 30, and even data is not normally distributed, then measurement of scale is the nominal. If it is only nominal, then only we are going to be apply chi-square, right? If it is a nominal, then we are going to apply chi-square, okay, to establish the association between the variables, and that too it's a nominal. Hope I think you are following, right? I think you know very well about what is nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. I have already explained to you in the previous session. Okay, so this is the logic to choose the test. Then ordinal, suppose if it is an ordinal data, then Spearman rank correlation, because you know very well about that. It should follow one order, right? Okay, now suppose, see, if it is methods, it's an univariate, right? Or maybe a n number of variables which we have, right? Multiple data, right? Then obviously which we are going to be apply, right? So variables are, maybe if you want to know about variable, or maybe a dimension reduction, right? Reduce the factors, then you are going to apply factor analysis. Or else maybe if you want to group the cases, respondents, right, which is cluster analysis. And even several relationships and even multiple dependencies, which you are going to be apply structural equation modeling. This is an extreme case, right? Several relationships and even multiple dependencies. So if you work on this, then I may call is as a project. I'm not saying about that even if you can apply this cluster or factor, or maybe a one sample, two sample, paid sample, correlation, regression, multiple regressions, and all those things, right? Of course, this is also good, but right now everyone is working on this structural equation modeling itself, because it's mainly work on based on regression. Okay, now see how you are going to be choose z-test and t-test, right? So see, population, I say to you, it is normal. If it is normally distributed, yes, then which is standard deviation, right, which is sigma, known, right? If it is S, then we are going to be apply z-test. If it is no, then we are going to be apply t-test. Okay, then population is normally distributed, right? It is not normally distributed, no. And again we are going to be check is greater than 30 or less than 30. If it is greater than 30, then we are going to be apply again this condition based on this. If it is no, then again which we are going to be check about here, larger population or small population. If it is S, binomial test. If it is no, hypergeometric test. Okay, so there is a logic behind that. Okay, when you are applying any type of tools, it is better to know what type of test we have to apply, then when we are applying, and what purpose we are applying. If you know this logic, and if you have this data, which will be helpful to you when you are doing project work, right? And even most of the researchers are lacking behind of this logic, and because of that they're getting some problem, right? And anyhow software, if you give any number, it is going to be throw you output. That output may not be match your problem. Okay, so see, which I have already explained to you, this remaining concept, primary scales, right, which is nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio related oriented one, right? So we have different types of techniques also, right, which I'm talking about this classifying scaling techniques, comparative scales, non-comparative scales. Okay, paid comparison, suppose if you want to compare paid comparison, then we have rank order on constant sum, continuous rating scales, itemized rating scale, Likert. So some examples which I have given here, which is see paid comparison scaling. Okay, now let me show to you. This is an example here, paid comparison scaling. Okay, so four professors here. Okay, so for each professor, indicate the professor from which whom prefer to take class with a 1. Now I asked a question to the students, right? So out of these four professors, which is Cunningham, Day, Parker, and Thomas, right? So which one you will give preference? Then student gave preference based on this. Okay, so the combinations which I have checked here, comparison, paid comparisons. Okay, see Day and Cunningham. Okay, so see, whereas here the faculties are more convenient with the Day and Cunningham, Parker and Cunningham, and even Thomas and Cunningham. But when you check here, the Cunningham with the Day and even Cunningham, Parker and Cunningham, Thomas, there is no. So items which is preferred here, which is mentioned, right? And it's a self-explanatory oriented one. Most probably you are going to be give this type of questions in the questionnaire, rank order scaling, so ranking. So based on that, which I'm giving ranking here. Okay, So I asked a question which I assigned some numbers, and based on that which I have mentioned here, rankings. Okay, a rank order, right? And even continuous scaling, which is C, availability, fairness, and easy test. So I asked a question to the students, how about availability of professor, fairness of professor, and even the test which he is going to be give. Then based on that which I have mentioned here. Okay, then non-comparative scales also we have in the non-comparative, right, which we have a continuous rating scale and even itemized rating scales, a schematic differential, Staple, Likert. Okay, so rating scales, very poor to very good, which is from 0 to 100, like this, right? And even we have different types of one, a schematic differential, right? So I'm going to give you here options: exciting, calm, and in between you can mention the numbers: interesting to dull, simple to complex, passive to active, right? This is one example, right, for the based on schematic, right? And even C, which is staple scales. Staple scales will look like this. Now suppose if I want to know about the departmental store name and even selection of that particular store, plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 and minus 1 minus 2 minus 3, like that. This is one example, right? And even graphic rating, which you know very well about that. Suppose if you book a Uber, Ola, then once if you done with your ride, then definitely you are going to be get this one, right? Please rate your experience, because you traveled from one particular place to another particular place. Is it a good or bad? What about your experience? Which is a graphical representation, right? So this is balance and unbalanced scales, right, which we have, right? Then after that, once if you come up with the any questionnaire, then that questionnaire has to be check validity and reliability, right? How far you can rely on that particular scale, how far you have a valid on that. Okay, then reliability again, which is going to be test, retest, alternative form, internal consistency, and even validity, content, criterion, and construct. Construct again, convergent, discriminant, and nomological validity. So this is for your reference which I'm giving here, right? It is better to know all these points, because they may ask you questions, right? So what do you mean by reliability? Now suppose let us take an example. Sunil sir prepared a one scale related to attitude. Now it was already tested, right? So you can use that. Then again, though you used, but you have to check reliability by using SPSS, right? So dimension reductions and even scale reliability, which is option is available in the SPSS. Once if you give data, then you are going to be get, right? So reliability, which is Cronbach alpha, which you are going to be get. So if you get Cronbach alpha less than 70, then you cannot rely on that data. If it should be greater than 70, then only we are going to be rely on that data. Okay, so you're testing that, test, retest, reliability, and alternative form of reliability. We have different types of forms to test reliability, right? And again, you have to check even internal consistency reliability. Just now I said to you, right, split half reliability and even coefficient of alpha. Just now I have mentioned alpha value should be greater than 70, right? Then how we are going to be check this, right? A content validity and criterion validity, right? So if you know as a student, right, it is well and good. And for whereas even if you have an idea, then it is an added advantage to you when you are doing project work, right? Of course, students are not focusing on this validity and reliability, but it was mentioned in your syllabus, so which is why I'm explaining to you based on validity and reliability related oriented one. Okay, so content validity, criterion validity, right, and even construct validity. So the most one which we are going to depend upon convergent, discriminant, and nomological validity. So what is this convergent? Extent to which scale correlate positively with other measures of the same construct. I think hope maybe you know very well about the construct, right? Now in the construct, fine, then we have different types of items. So extent to which scale correlates positively with other measures of the same construct, right? So in the construct, items has to be positively correlate. That is called convergent validity. Then discriminant validity, extent to which a measure does not correlate with other construct from which it is supposed to differ. Now one construct is different, other construct is different. Then in that, items may not be correlate with the other construct items, right? In within one construct, items can be positively correlated, that is convergent validity. Discriminant validity means one construct items may not be correlate with the other construct item, right? So it should not be like that. This is a discriminant validity. Nomological validity, extent to which scale correlates in theoretically predicted way with measures of different but related constructs, right? So scale correlates theoretically. So because we come up with a conceptual framework based on that, it has to be correlate. Okay, clear? So based on that, which we are going to check convergent, discriminant, and nomological validity, right? And which is reliability. How far you have a rely on that particular scale, right? So let me show to you one diagram, right? You can easily understand by seeing this, right? So hope, I think you are watching this. Maybe once if you go to the any exhibition, maybe you played with this particular game, right? People will give you gun and even balloons. Shoot the balloon, which is exactly center point, which is maybe a different colors, which they mentioned. So if it is a old rifle, right, then accuracy may not be reliable, right? Low reliability. The new rifle, high reliability, right? And new rifle, and even if you use sunglasses, reliable but not valid. You can rely, but you cannot valid. Hope you understand with this. Now, even let me show you one more example how you can, right? See, this is called, whereas I have hit one particular one, right? Or maybe I thrown arrow, but whereas it is not exactly touching with the center point, which is uh, uh, focusing on other way or in the same points itself. So you can rely but not valid, right? Then see, we can say this is in a low validity and low reliability, because no point is in a same direction, in a different directions, right? And but if you observe here, which is you cannot reliable but not reliable and even not valid. This one, this is low validity and low reliability, and this is not reliable and not valid, but you can rely based on this example, both reliable and valid, because a points which is exactly hitting the target, and that to center point, right? Clear? Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions? So we discussed about most important concepts in the fourth unit, that is qualitative data analysis, right? So five techniques we discussed, and quantitative data analysis, right? So we have n number of one. I have shown to you softwares, right? And even test of measurement and quality, how we are going to be test measurement and even quality. So quality, which is going to be tested based on validity and reliability, and using computer packages, and even their advantages and disadvantages we discussed. If you have any questions, please ask me. Do you have any questions? Yes or no? Any questions? No? If it is no, we'll go ahead with the QABT class.
No, sir.
Yeah, fine. Okay. Now let me stop sharing. Right? Hope, I think you are observing my board. Now let me adjust. Is it clearly visible? Is it fine? Any one of you?
Yes, sir.
So see, as of now, we discussed BRM, right? In the BRM fourth unit, data analysis. So we completed that, and tomorrow I'm going to be talk about fifth unit, which is report writing, and even how you to present that report and what are the contents has to be included in that report, and we'll discuss. Okay, so let me start QABD last unit. So as of now, we discussed first unit, which is related to theoretical information, right? And second unit, linear programming problems, right? And even transportation problems. Third unit, what is that? Third unit,
Assignment problems.
assignment problems, right? Then fourth unit, decision theory, right? So in that we discussed each and every concept also. Now fifth unit, which is queuing, right? Queuing theory. Yesterday I have forwarded one material, right? Those who read, for them it's easy. Now whatever the concepts or points which I'm discussing right now, those who already read, maybe you can understand, and even those who did not read also, no problem, I will explain to you. Okay, so last unit, which is queuing theory. Now any one of you can please tell me what is this queuing theory? What you understand queuing means? What do you understand queuing means?
In a serial order, sequence.
Yes, in a serial order. Okay, so why queue will form? Any idea why queue will form? Why queue will form?
The process to be take place one after another.
Sorry, come again.
Any process that should happen one after the other, sir.
One after the other. Okay, now let me give you one example, right? Most probably, see, maybe most of you guys, when you want to travel, right, maybe roadways or maybe a railway, by using mode of transportation, which is maybe a bus or maybe a train or maybe a airways, right? So obviously what happened? First in, first out. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
What is that first in, first out means?
FIFO.
Yes, first in, first order, or first in, first serve, right? So those who are entering into the system, that person will take a service first, right? Now suppose, let us take an example. You want to take a ticket, right? You want to travel from Hyderabad to Nizamabad, and you are depending upon bus. Okay, so you are standing. When you enter into the ticket counter, there is already 3 members. Then what is your number?
4.
Is it possible with you to go directly and take?
No, sir.
No. Yes or no? Same thing even in the railway stations also, and even in the even if you want to travel by airways, right? Even the counters, it depends upon the service centers. Okay, so see, I think, hope maybe you come across sometimes. Let us take an example. If you go to the Secunderabad railway station, you can find n number of counters. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
You can find n number of counters. This is first service center, and this is second service center, and this is third service center, and this is fourth service center. If this is the case, right, why they come up with, let me give you an example. If it is Secunderabad railway station, right? So main station, everyone, and so many trains will come and so many trains will go, right? And even so many passengers will come, and even they will take a services, right? Few people want to travel, which is in local trains, and few people want to travel from one city to another city, right? So it's a busy station, Secunderabad, right? Now let me ask you, rather than maintaining n number of, right, if I depend upon only one service center, is it possible to cover each and every passenger or provide fast service?
No, sir.
No, right? Of course no. Why? Because you know very well about that how many customers will come and how many customers want to serve. Suppose if it is only one counter, then it's highly difficult to provide a faster services to the customers. Okay, so which is why you have to calculate in advance how many counters is possible with me to provide a faster services without forming a queue. Now any one of you can please tell me, you went to the railway station, if it is each and every counter is free, then you can choose any one and you can directly go and you can take the ticket and you will go. Now most of the people, they does not like to stand in a queue. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Suppose see, you went to railway station, right, and train is also already on the platform, and even your listening announcement also, it's about to leave. Now you want to take a ticket. Now your turn is 11th one, right? So you will fed up because you are listening the announcement. It's already departing from the or moving from the platform. Then when you are going to get your turn, once 10th people get services, then only 11th one can take the ticket. It may take 5 minutes, even if it is he is providing faster services, because the first person may say about that, please give me ticket, and he is going to be give 100 rupees and ticket is 30 rupees, and again the person has to give 70 rupees. So it will take time. Yes or no? So queuing theory, in the queuing theory which we are going to be work on, right, how many service stations we have to keep, so can that we can provide services to the customers, and so can that we can provide faster services to the customers. This is what we are doing in the queuing, right? Now let me give you an example. I think most probably when you are traveling from one city to another city, maybe by using two-wheeler or maybe a four-wheeler or maybe a bus or maybe any travels, right, you come across toll gate, right?
Yes, sir.
Toll gate. Toll gate is the best example for this queuing. How?
We have different stations for different vehicles.
Yes, exactly. Same thing I'm talking about, right? This is first service center, this is second service center, this is third service center, then this is fourth service center, right? N number of, right? So if this is a they have maybe a 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 stations, right? So if it is a bus is coming here, or maybe a two-wheeler is coming here, or maybe a car is coming here, or maybe truck is coming here, or maybe any other heavy vehicles is coming here, then they can provide faster services. If it is only one, is it possible with you to provide service? Is it possible with you to provide service?
No.
So queuing theory deals with problems that involve waiting or queuing. Okay, right? You can check all examples, maybe a bank or maybe a supermarket or maybe a while you are taking tickets, right, bus tickets or maybe train tickets or maybe check-in, check-out, right? Okay, or maybe a hospital. Simple. Maybe see those who visited hospitals, maybe suppose let us take an example, one X is suffering with the fever. Okay, so he went to the hospital, right? It's already 20 tokens given. Then what about your number? It's 21. Yes or no? Are you following? Hello?
Yes, sir.
So if it is only one doctor available, then when you are going to be get your turn?
21st.
So after providing services to 20 patients, then only you are going to be get. Until unless if it is any emergency, then only it could be possible to you to go in advance. If it is there is no emergency, then you have to wait to this doctor is going to provide services to the 20 patients, then only your turn will come. But if it is two doctors, doctor 1 and doctor 2, then probability of getting services faster or slower?
After.
Faster, because see, maybe now suppose if it is only 1, it may take 10 minutes. If it is 2, it may take 5 minutes to get your turn, because 1 2 3 4 5 6, because it's dividing, so your position may become 10th. Now if it is only one doctor, your position is 21. Same thing. Okay, so what we are doing in the queuing theory, right? So if you want to increase the service stations, if you want to increase the service stations, right, how many you want to increase, right, and how best you can provide services to the customers without increasing a cost. That is what we are doing. A simple one here, right? So we are going to be discuss about a few important concepts, which is why I have sent to you the theoretical information, right? So queuing follows one structure, right, which is called calling population, which is input source, and even queuing process, arrival process, and even queue discipline, and even service process mechanism. Okay, so structure which consists of calling population, and second one which is queuing process, and the third one queue discipline, and fourth one service process, which I have already sent to you the material. Those who have that material, please check that particular one. Okay, now most important one, right? Now see, arrival patterns. Now what do you mean by arrival patterns, right? So see, it describes how a customer become a part of the queuing system, right? Now suppose one person may enter into the system and may leave, and one person may continue in the system, one person may change from one queue to another queue. This is what I'm talking about. Okay, so it indicates the arrival time and number of customers arriving at any specified time intervals are usually random variables. So random variables itself. So the most important points here which we are discussing, two, which is Poisson distribution and exponential distribution. Okay, so what is Poisson distribution? It is a discrete probability distribution that provides probabilities for the number of customers that may arrive in any specific interval to time. What is Poisson distribution? It is a discrete probability distribution that provides probabilities for the number of customers that may arise in any specific interval to time. Okay, now exponential distribution, it provides probabilities for time gap between two consecutive arrivals. What is the time gap between the two consecutive arrivals, which is exponential distribution? Poisson distribution, it is a discrete probability distribution that provides probabilities for the number of customers that may arrive in any specific interval to time. So how many customers are entering, right? Then exponential distribution, it provides probabilities for time gap between two consecutive arrivals. What is the time gap between two consecutive arrivals? Okay, so first person was entered and second person was entered, then third person was entered. What is the time gap between 1 and 2 and 2 and 3? It may be a 10 minutes, it may be a 15 minutes, it may be a 5 minutes, it may be a 1 minute. Hope you understand. So two important things which we are talking about, Poisson distribution and exponential distribution, right? So what is Poisson distribution? It is a discrete probability distribution that provides probabilities for the number of customers that may arrive in any specific interval to time. That is a Poisson distribution. Then what is exponential distribution? It provides probabilities for time gap between two consecutive arrivals. Between two consecutive arrivals. Okay, clear? Now see, three important points we have to discuss. One is balking, one is reneging, and one is jockeying. So what is balking? I think, hope, see, let me give an example, right? Suppose you went to the hospital to take a service, right? Maybe any one particular person, some X is suffering with the viral fever. Okay, some X is suffering with the viral fever and he went to the hospital, right? Then once he went to the hospital, then he saw and his number, which he got token number, which is 89. Now doctor not yet came to the hospital, right? It's morning 10 o'clock. Okay, now approximately if doctor is taking each and every patient 5 minutes, okay, so when this person is going to be get his turn? Any one of you? Are you following? Respond.
Maybe 18 or 17.
Yes,
Right, so it will take time, right? It will take time. It's not 1 hour or 2 hours. Fine. So rather than staying in the queue, he may left the queue. That is called balking. That is called balking. Not entering the queue as it is a large. Not entering into the queue as it is a large queue. This is called balking. Now what is reneging? What is reneging? Right? So reneging means, so he will enter into the queue, right? A person, let us take an example, same patient, right? He enter into the hospital to take a service and his token is 40, okay, and he waited more than 1 hour and 2 hours and it could not be possible with him to wait, so it is better to leave, and he left the queue. This is called reneging. So what is balking? By seeing the queue, right, and it's too, it will take time and he will not enter into the queue. This is called balking. What is reneging? Right, reneging means person enter into the queue, but meanwhile maybe he got some important work, or maybe he thought maybe it will take time, and he thought maybe let me come next day or maybe in the evening, and he will leave the queue, right? Then it is called reneging. Then what is jockeying? Right, most probably will do all these things when you are into the queue, right? Jockeying. So what is jockeying? See, you have entered, let us take an example, 3 counters, right? 1 2 3 and 1 2 3 4 and 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so first doctor, second doctor and third doctor, and first doctor is providing faster services. People are going inside and coming very fastly within before 5 minutes itself, but the third doctor is taking time each and every patient, which is 10 minutes based on the condition of patient or so and so. Okay, so now you are standing at the 8th position in the third place, but whereas here counter here waiting line is less, so rather than waiting here you may shift from third to 1. So this is called jockeying. Jockeying means you were in the one particular sequence, then rather than continuing that sequence you are shifting from one sequence to another sequence, another line. This is called jockeying. Hope you understood balking, reneging and jockeying. So when you are in the queue, I think hope maybe you did the same thing. Yes or no? Yes or no? Now most important one, right, the notations which I said to you, right? So if you know these notations, then it is easy to you to identify. In the queuing theory, to solve the problems, the most important one, just by heart these notations and even model 1 equations. That's it. So if you know this, then it is easy to you to solve the problems, nothing else. So directly they are going to be give you questions like this: expected number of customers in the system, expected number of customers in the queue, average waiting time in the system, average waiting time in the queue, average waiting time for a customer. That's it. 1 2 3 4 5 they will ask you, and solve the problem. So the only one thing you should know: what is lambda, what is mu, what is rho. So once if you identify and even n also, then it is easy to you. So it is predefined equations which is already sent to you. So if you know and directly you are applying, that's it. It's simple. Okay, so but before going to solve the problems, let me explain notations. So notations used in the queuing theory, right? We have n number of, which is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So if you know this 7, right, sorry, 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14, So you should know all these notations. So what are they? N, small n, right? Small n, which is number of customers in the system, waiting or and in the service. Okay, small n, which is going to be represented number of customers in the system, right? Which is Pn, right? Probability of n customers in the system. What is the probability of the n customers in the system, which is going to be represented with the Pn, and lambda, right? So which is arrival rate. Lambda, which is represented arrival rate, which is average expected customer arrival rate or average number of arrivals or unit of time in the queuing system. What is lambda? Average customer arrival rate or average number of arrivals or unit of time in the queuing system. Okay, now mu. What is mu? Which is service rate, right? So average expected service rate. So if you know this, then it is easy to you to solve the problem. Simple. It will take only 1 minute time to solve the problem. When you understand the problem and when you identified what is rho and what is mu and what is lambda and what is n, that's it, you will get. So simply we are going to substitute those values, then we will get the answer, right? So lambda done, mu, which is average expected service rate or average number of customers served or unit of time at a place of service, right? Now rho. What is this rho? Which is traffic intensity or service utilization factor. Service utilization factor. Okay, so rho, which is calculated average service completion time, which is 1 by mu divided by average interval time, which is 1 by lambda. So we can rewrite this is lambda, right? Sorry, rho lambda divided by mu. Lambda divided by mu. So which is already mentioned, which is why even I have forwarded to you yesterday itself. If you know this, then blindly directly we are applying that. That's it. Now which is P naught, probability of number of customers in the system, right? So which is going to be mentioned 1 minus lambda by mu, and again it is going to be rewrite 1 minus rho, right? So please go through that material which I have sent to you, right? Then it is easy to you to solve these problems. So S, number of service channels, right? And even N, capital N. So what is that capital N? Maximum number of customers allowed into the system. Maximum number of customers allowed into the system. Now LS, right? And most important one, apart from this, Pn, N, lambda, mu, rho, and even N and all those things, LS. So they may ask you questions, LS, LQ, WS, WQ, and even PW, and even L also. So what is LS? So LS is average expected number of customers into the system, both waiting and in service. Okay, now LQ, average expected number of customers in the queue, queue length. So to find out queue length, LQ. Okay, then L, average length of non-empty queue, average or expected length of non-empty queue. Okay, then WS, average waiting time in the system, average waiting time in the system, both waiting and in service. Then WQ, average waiting time in the queue. Okay, then PW, probability that an arriving customer has to wait. So waiting time, system being busy. Okay, so 1 minus P naught, then again it is going to be represented with lambda by mu. Okay, so if you know these notations, right, what is WQ, what is WS, what is L, what is LQ, what is LS, what is N, what is rho, what is mu, what is lambda, right, and what is N and what is Pn, right? So just let me give a hint. By heart, know and read equation 1, model 1 equations, right? You're simply applying those value, those substituting values in that particular problem, and you will get the answer. Are you following? Now see a classification, how they did classification here. Let me explain that. Okay, classification of queuing model. So see, different models in queuing are classified by special notations, right, which is discussed initially by D.G. Kendall. So D.G. Kendall in the year of 1953, he come up with the notations like this: A, comma B, comma C, right? So later A.M. Lee in 1966 added the symbols which is D and E to the Kendall notations. So it is called Kendall notations, right? So which we are going to be represent this A, comma, sorry, A slash B slash C, right? And which is D slash E. So like this, which are going to be mentioned, Kendall notations. So what is this A? A is arrival distributions. A means arrival distributions. Okay. Then B means service time distribution. Okay, service time distribution. Now I think hope maybe I already explained to you. A, which is arrival distribution, Poisson distribution. B, which is service time distribution, exponential distribution. C, which is number of service channels, how many channels they have in that system, right? Number of service channels. So what is this? D is talking about maximum number of customers allowed in the system. How many customers may allowed? Is it only 1, 2 or infinity? Then E, which is Q discipline, which is Q discipline. Are you following? Are you following? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So see, now which I'm going to mention the same thing, right? A, which is Kendall notations, and after A, B, C, which was Kendall come up, then after the D and E, which is A.M. Lee in the year of 1966, right? They come up with they added D and E, right? So Kendall, which was come up with the A slash B slash C, which is in the year of 1953, right? So A is, which is Poisson distribution, right? So or else even we may say about that arrival distribution. B is service time distribution, which is departure, which is exponential distribution. Then C, which is number of service channels, right? How many channels which we have in the system. Then D, which is maximum number of customers allowed in the system, how many customers may allowed in the system. Then the E, which is Q discipline, which is it which discipline they are following? Is it first come first serve or maybe last in first out? I think hope maybe you know very well about this, right? LIFO and FIFO, I think you heard.
Yes, sir.
So what is LIFO?
Last in, first out.
Last in first out. What is FIFO?
First in, first out.
First in first out, or we can say first come first serve, first come first serve, last come first serve, right? So this is the most important one right now. I'm talking about this. Okay, so we know very well about that first in first out, right? Suppose in the ticket counter, first person, or maybe in the hospital, those who have a token, first token, that person will get a service, first come first serve. Then what about last in first out? I gave an example to you before starting this session in the first day itself. Last in first out.
Biscuit in a jar.
Sorry?
Biscuit in a jar, sir.
Yeah. So biscuit box, or maybe you can say container, right? In the container, right? So maybe first car, second car, third car, fourth car, and fifth car, and sixth car, right? So which one will get first service? Either maybe fifth one or maybe sixth one will get. Yes or no? So last in first out. It's not possible with them to remove first and second because it is inside. Same thing. Now best example I can give you, right? Yes or no? So we can give a number of example like this: first in first out and last in first out. Okay, so the same one which is represented, right, which is model 1. Okay, so like this. So I'm rewriting because Kendall notations which we are going to mention with the M, right? So the same A slash B slash C and d/c, which is going to be mentioned in this way, right? So model 1 m/m/1, right? Infinity, first come first serve. Now any one of you can please tell me what is this first one? M, Poisson distribution. Next M, exponential distribution. What is this one? What is that one? What is that C, which I told to you? Number of service channels. So if it is 1 means how many service channels?
1.
1 service channel, right? So infinity means number of customers can enter, there is no restriction, right? Infinity population, right? Then what about this Q discipline? First come first serve. This is your model 1. Okay, so first M, which is representing Poisson distribution, second M, which is representing exponential distribution, single service center, single serve, then infinity population, first come first serve. Okay, 99.99% you will get questions from this model itself in the queuing. 99.99% you are going to be get questions in this model only, right? And what you have to do, I say to you, right? So you should know the notations and at the same time queuing equations. So first one, LS. So those who have already material, please check that material. Expected number of customers in the system. Expected number of customers in the system, that is represented with the LS, right? So LS equals to lambda divided by mu minus lambda. It is also rewrite, right, which is rho divided by 1 minus rho. So I have already mentioned, so you should learn this. So if you know, then simply you are going to be apply. They are going to be ask you, they may give you question in the examination, right? Theoretical information, and below that A, right? Find out number of customers in the system. Second one, right? So find out number of customers in the queue. Third one, average waiting time in the system, average waiting time in the queue, average waiting time for a customer, like that they will ask you A, B, C, D, E. So simple. So once if you know, then you are going to be apply. But before that, you should identify what is lambda and what is mu and what is rho. Then it is easy to you to apply the problem. To apply this, and you are going to be get the answers. That's it. Okay. So expected number of customers in queue, which is LQ, right? So lambda square divided by mu into mu minus lambda. So it is rewrite again, which is rho square divided by 1 minus rho. So I have already mentioned all these things, right? I have sent to you material. Please check that material. So you have to learn all these things. That's it. Average waiting time in the system, which is WS. Average waiting time in the system, WS. So 1 divided by mu minus lambda. To find out average waiting time in the system, which is WS, 1 divided by mu minus lambda. Average waiting time in the queue, which is going to be mentioned WQ, right? So lambda divided by mu into mu minus lambda, or you can rewrite this. Okay, this you can rewrite rho divided by mu minus lambda. Okay, are you following? Now waiting time, average waiting time for a customer. average waiting time for a customer, W, right, which is going to be represented with the W. Fine. So W is equals to 1 divided by mu into 1 minus rho r. It is going to be represented with 1 minus mu 1 divided by mu minus lambda. Okay, so few more we have, that is expected length of non-empty queue, that is represented with the capital L. So how we are going to find mu divided by mu minus lambda. Okay, then probability when there are n customers in the queue, n customers, so Pn equals to lambda divided by mu, then whole to the power of n, which is P naught. I think, hope maybe you calculated this type of problems, right? Then which is we can rewrite this Pn equals to lambda divided by mu to the power of n, then 1 minus lambda divided by mu. Okay, then probability that there is nobody in queue, right, which is P naught, that is 1 minus lambda by mu. Probability that there is at least one customer or queue is busy, which is PB, 1 minus P naught. Then traffic intensity, rho equals to lambda divided by mu. So if you know all this, then it is easy to you to solve the problems. That's it, nothing else we are doing, right? So you should know notations, you should know all this, then only it could be possible to you to solve the problems, model 1 equations. Okay, so directly they may ask you questions. Shall we go with the problem? One problem. How it look like? It's easy, simple. The only one thing, you should know the notations and you should know the equations. Then it is easy to you to solve the problem. Now let me
For every notation we have single formula, sir.
Yeah, you should know the notations. What is N, what is capital N, what is LS, LQ, WS, WQ, and even WL. If you know that notations, then the same one, even in the equations also we have formulas, then you have directly applying those formulas, right, and you will get the answer. That's it. So I will explain to you one problem. Let us take an example like this, based on first method, first model, right? So which is m/m/1 infinity slash first come first serve. This is first model. Okay, now one problem. See, a TV repair man finds that the time spent on his jobs has an exponential distribution. Okay, distribution with the mean 30 minutes, right? He repaired sets in the order in which they arrived. Now any one of you can please tell me, they mentioned here two important points. A TV repair man finds that the time spent on his jobs has an exponential distribution. Okay, so we find in the model, right? So how we are going to be identify the model? Is it a first model, second model, or third model? So they mentioned m/m/1 infinity first come first serve. So they mentioned here exponential, second M we got, and the next they gave, he repaired sets in the order in which they arrived. What is that? Q discipline. Is it LIFO or FIFO? Is it LIFO or FIFO? He repaired sets in the order in which they arrived. Is it LIFO or FIFO?
FIFO, sir.
FIFO, first in, first in, first out, right? So the arrival of the sets is approximately Poisson. So they mentioned first M also. Yes or no? So this is about model m/m/1, right? Infinity first come first serve. First come first serve. So they mentioned exponential distribution, they mentioned Poisson distribution, and they mentioned this also, first come first serve, right? The arrival of the sets is approximately Poisson with an average of 10 per 8 hour a day, right? Find the requirements ideal time each day. Find the requirement ideal time. So they asked to find out ideal time each day. How many jobs are ahead of the average set just brought in? So they asked here, find out the ideal time and find out LS. Find out LS. So what is LS? What is LS?
Average expected number of customers.
Expected number of customers in the system. Okay. Now, see, we can identify this is a model 1 problem because they mentioned. Okay. So Poisson process, single queue, 1 by 1. Okay. So lambda. What is lambda? Arrival rate. Lambda arrival rate. Right. So what is that arrival rate they mentioned here, which is 10 per an 8 hour. Okay, 10 per an 8 hour. So which is, we are going to mention 10 by 8, right? 10 hours, okay, by day, per day, 10 by 8, right? Then mu, average rate. Right, average rate, which is they mentioned on his jobs, has an exponential distribution with mean 30 minutes. With mean 30 minutes. Suppose if it's 30 minutes for one set, right? So 30 minutes for one set gives, right? So to repair, right, for one set it will take 30 minutes, right? Per hour, how many sets is going to be repaired? If it is 30 minutes per one set, right, then if it is per hour, how many sets? It's 2 sets, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
2 sets per hour. Okay. Then idle time. Idle time, that means the free time that TV repairman will be in a available in the free time without doing any repair. Okay. So free time, which is 1 minus rho. Okay. So rho, which is going to be calculated here, right? So rho equals to lambda divided by mu. Okay. So lambda we know already 10 by 8. Then mu also we know 2. So 10 by 8, which we are going to be get how much? Any one of you can please tell me? Which is 1.25?
Yeah, 1 by 4 and yeah, 1.25.
So 1.25 divided by 2. So how much? 0.625. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
We got rho. Okay, then ideal time. So to find out ideal time, which is 1 minus rho. So 1 minus 0.625. How much?
0.375.
0.375. Okay. Then we find ideal time. They asked us, find out the requirement ideal time each day. How many jobs are ahead of the average set just brought in? So they asked us LS. So what is that LS? Right. So which is expected number of customers in the system. Okay. So we already know, right? So rho we know, and even we know very well about lambda and mu also. So to find out LS, LS equals to rho divided by 1 minus rho. So rho value, which is we got already 0.625, 0.625 divided by 1 minus rho, which we already got 0.375, 0.375. Then the answer is, which is 1.66. 1.66. That's it. Simple. Here only one important thing, you should know the notations and what they asked, and based on that you are applying. The only one typical part is here. If you don't know the notations and if you don't know how to calculate LS and how to calculate LQ, how to calculate WS and WQ and W and L, then no one will help. If you know this rho divided by 1 minus rho, if they asked LS, then you can directly apply. And before that, you need to identify what is rho and what is lambda and what is mu. So which is why I say to you, you should know the notations in the queuing theory. If you know the notations, then it is easy to you to solve the problems. And at the same time, even model 1, identifying a model 1 and even equations. That's it. Okay. Now let me take one more problem, right? A self-service canteen. A self-service canteen employs one cashier. At its counter. 8 customers arrive per every 10 minutes on average. 8 customers arrive per every 10 minutes on average. The cashier can serve average 1 per minute. Assuming that the arrival are Poisson and the service distribution is exponential. Determine A, they asked, average number of customers in the system. B, average queue length. C, average time a customer spends in the system. D, average waiting time of each customer. That's it. So they asked us here, which is LS, LQ, WS and WQ. So most probably they are going to be ask you LS, LQ, WS and WQ, and at the same time rho and even W and even L. That's it. Okay. So we'll go ahead with this problem, right? So 8 customers arrive for every 10 minutes based on the problem. Hence, average arrival rate lambda equals to 8 by 10 customers per minute. 8 by 10 customers per minute. Average service rate mu equals to 1 customer per minute. Traffic intensity rho, which is lambda divided by mu, how much? Which is 8 by 10 divided by 1. So you are going to get 4 by 5. Yes or no? Yes or no? Are you
8
following?
by 10. 8 by 10 divided by 1.
2 4 jar 2 5 jar. 4 by 5. Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now they asked A. What is A? A is LS. Average number of customers in the system. Right? They mentioned in the problem. Find out average number of customers in the system. Average number of customers in the system, which is LS. So how it is going to be find out? Directly I'm applying. That's it. So it will take very fastly to solve the problem. Only one thing, initially you have to identify lambda, mu and rho. Then you are applying. That's it. So rho divided by 1 minus rho, then which is 4 by 5 divided by 1 minus 4 by 5. How much? Which you are going to be get 4 minutes if you calculate.
4, sir.
Yeah. Next B, LQ. So what is LQ? Average queue length. Average
Rows.
queue length.
Q length.
Rho square divided by 1 minus. So 4 by 5 square divided by 1 minus 4 by 5. So which is 3.2 minutes. If you calculate, you are going to be get 3.2 minutes. Then next C, average time customer spends in the system. Average time customer spends in the system. What is that?
1 S.
WS. So 1 divided by mu minus
lambda.
So we know very well about that what is mu and what is lambda. 1 divided by mu, how much? Which is 1, right? So 1 minus 8 by 10, which is 5 minutes. Okay, now one more they asked, last one. What is that? D, average
WQ.
waiting time of each customer, WQ. So WQ equals to rho divided by mu minus lambda. So 4 by 5 divided by 1 minus 8 by 10. So 4 minutes. Simple. So they asked LS, LQ, WQ, WQ. So we got LS 4 minutes, that is average number of customers in the system. Average number of customers in the system, which is 4 minutes. Then average queue length, which is 3.2 minutes. Then average time customers spends in the system, which is 5 minutes only. Then average waiting time of each customer, which is 4 minutes. Okay, LS 4 minutes, LQ 3.2 minutes, and WS is 5 minutes, and WQ which is 4 minutes. Okay, so this is how they are going to be ask you questions. Simple. So let me take one more problem, then with this we'll close, right? Now usually I'm taking an example of this. Barber A takes 15 minutes to complete one haircut. Customers arrive in his shop at an average rate of 1 every 30 minutes. Barber's B takes 25 minutes to complete one haircut, and customers arrive at his shop cut at average rate of 1 every 50 minutes. The arrival person are Poisson, and the service times follows as exponential distribution. So where would you expect a bigger queue? Where would you expect a bigger queue? Right, first one. B, where would you require most time waiting included to complete a haircut, right? And yeah, they mentioned only these two. So two options they gave. Barber A will take time and Barber B will take time to cut haircuts. Then based on that, you please mention where you can find bigger queue, and even one more they mentioned, where would you require most time waiting included to complete a haircut. Okay, so if you divide this, then you can easily to calculate, right? So let me solve this problem. So they may ask you like this, and most probably they may ask you questions which is find out WS, WQ, LS, LQ, LW, and even rho n or Pn, or maybe a n or not n, which is PB, P naught, probability that there is nobody in the queue, right? Or maybe a probability that there is at least one customer or queue is busy, right? They may ask you like this. Okay, so now here, which is see A and B, right? So I will complete this within 5 minutes, so bear with me. So A Barber, right? So mu is 1 by 15 per minute. And what about B, which is 1 by 25 per minute? 1 by 25 per minute. Then what about lambda, which is A 1 by 30, then B lambda, which is 1 by 50. Okay, rho, which is 1 by 2. I'm directly writing here because lambda divided by mu, 1 by 30 divided by 1 by 15, which is 1 by 2. Then rho for B, which is 1 by 2 again. Okay, so find out LQ, because they asked rho square divided by 1 minus rho. Okay, so you can get here 1 by 2. Then B, which is LQ, right? Same thing, you are going to be get 1 by 2. Okay, then WS, right? WS, So to find the WS, 1 divided by mu minus lambda, right? So if you apply the values here, we know what is lambda and what is mu and what is rho. Then you are going to be get here 30 minutes. If you substitute the values, right? And even if it is a B, same thing, 1 divided by mu minus lambda, right? Then this is, which is 50 minutes. Now any one of you can please tell me what is your conclusion? What is your conclusion based on this particular problem? Based on this particular problem.
30 minutes, sir.
So A is 30 minutes and B is 50 minutes. Okay, both the shops wise have an average same queue length, but in the case of barber B, a customer spends an average 50 minutes in the shop, whereas which is how many minutes? It is 50 minutes in the 50 minutes in the shop of in the barber of B, and whereas shop at a customer spends only 30 minutes. Yes or no?
Yes,
so
sir.
At barber A, which is 30 minutes, at barber B, which is 50 minutes. Okay, so the customer may prefer, rather than going to the barber B, it is better to go with the barber A, because barber A is taking only 30 minutes to finish haircut. Okay, so they may ask you different types of questions like this in the queuing. So you are going to be get questions like this, right? And we have even model 2, model 3 also. Hope maybe it is better to know model 2, model 3 also, but out of my experience, maybe you're not going to be get the questions in the examination which are related to model 2 and model 3. Fine. So it is better to focus on only model 1. Anyhow, I will forward to you the material, right? Please go through that material. It will be added advantage to you. So in the queuing, you should know only notations and even equations. Fine, right?
Yes, sir.
So with this, we completed queuing. Tomorrow I'm going to explain to you game theory. Okay, so most probably tomorrow I may complete even BRM and QABD also. Okay, so good day, we'll meet tomorrow.
Sir.
Mm.
Sir,
Who is
can you please send QABD first unit theory part, sir?
theory part? Okay, I will send because
Okay,
I say no, it will take time. Anyhow, you have an exam at 16th, right?
Yes, sir. Before exam also it's okay, sir, because we don't have materials regarding that theory part.
I will forward whenever I will find time. I will take PDF and I will send, because today I'm extremely busy, and even tomorrow also by 1st or 2nd I will send. Okay.
Okay, sir. And even BRM also, sir, please, sir.
Yeah, definitely. BRM, I think I already forwarded to you the material, PDF, entire book.
Okay. Yes, sir. Okay.
Through group mail ID. Hope you received.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay.
Yeah, that is enough. It's you can find each and every topic over there. It's 600 pages book. Each
Okay,
and
sir.
every concept you will get.
Okay, sir.
Okay, apart from that, you can go ahead with the my PPT. That is enough.
Okay, sir.
Okay, yeah, we'll meet
Thank you,
tomorrow.
sir.
Right.